Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Landan Dory, founding member of North Star Brokerage Advisory, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Landon. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited for our conversation. But before we dive into all things business, I would love to share a little bit about you. So take us back as far as you'd like and share a bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. To go all the way back, I grew up in Midland, Texas. I spent 18 good years out in the desert. I then went to school in Waco, went to Baylor University, and then in 2017, I made my way to Austin. I followed my now wife here, and we've lived here ever since. We've got two beautiful kids and one on the way. I've been in the commercial real estate brokerage space for going on 10 years now. I've done a lot of different things in a lot of states in that industry. And then in the last several years, I've made a firm pivot over into the outdoor hospitality space. So our clients, our deals are all in the OH space. That's RV resorts, marinas, campgrounds, self-storage properties, and mobile home parks.
Oh, very fun. Well, this is going to be a great conversation. I actually lived in a park once when I had an RV during like 2020, and so this is going to be really fun because that was a crazy cool part of my life. So I'm
Oh,
excited to hear about
nice.
the business side of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there's a few things I already want to unpack. So how did you get into like the brokerage space to start with?
Well, right out of college, I knew that I wanted to get into real estate. I'd worked for a pretty prolific and successful developer in Waco. He built a wonderful business for himself and a wonderful lifestyle for himself through his business. So that made it pretty obvious to me that I wanted to join or I wanted to be in commercial real estate. I didn't know really where to start. And the deeper I went into exploring commercial real estate, the more I realized that it's a very, very big industry. Um, it didn't take me long to discover that there's the brokerage component, there's the development side, there's the property management side, there's the financing side, there's the, I guess, debt and equity side. So there's a lot of different ways that I could have gotten plugged in and involved, and I ultimately decided to do the brokerage side because my long-term goals at the time were to buy, own, and operate my own real estate, and for that to become my job. So in order to do that, I thought the best way to get to that point was to one, make enough money where I could afford some businesses and in brokerage, you have, there's no salary. So it's kill what you eat and you have unlimited earning potential, which is good as long as you're earning. um, and it was going to give me experience in putting deals together. So understanding buyer and seller motivations, understanding how financing gets involved, how to work with banks, title companies, navigate the whole deal cycle from start to finish and really master selling because that's all that's really all that this is. I shouldn't say that that's all that this is. That's a pretty important cornerstone of what this business is. You're either selling yourself to recruits or to your your potential clients, or you're trying to sell the deals for your clients to prospective buyers. So that's where I got the confidence to know that I can sell pretty much anything that I want to.
You know, you brought up a really good point about especially being like a business owner or having your own businesses. Sales is huge for everyone. I mean, everyone becomes a salesperson of their own business. I think that's such a golden nugget of like like simplistic thought to like a grand idea. You know, it's an important thing for business owners to adapt that. So thank you for sharing that. Now, how did you end up in like the outdoor hospitality space?
Yeah, that's the number one question, and it was completely by accident. So let me take you back. So my past life in brokerage was doing national net lease brokerage. So the types of properties that I was buying and selling were like Starbucks or Dollar Generals or CVS and Walgreens, AutoZones. Think freestanding retail, major arteries, major roadway arteries, and people would purchase those basically as bonds. They'd often come with 20-year leases. They were super passive to own. So a lot of my clients were, or a lot of the people that were buying those were purchasing them with 1031 exchange proceeds. And if the viewers aren't familiar with what a 1031 exchange is, Section IRS Code 1031 allows you to sell one commercial investment property and then within a certain specified period of time, purchase another property. And if you do it correctly, you can avoid your capital gains and depreciation recapture taxes, which can be north of 30% depending on your state and how long you've owned the property and how you depreciated it. So a lot of people were purchasing these properties from me because they were super passive. They didn't take much management acumen, and they were selling something like a multifamily property in LA and purchasing a Starbucks in Austin. So that was a transition. So I started thinking, okay, there's a pretty high demand for this particular product, tax mitigation through real estate purchasing. So I start reaching out to a bunch of other brokers who specialized in different asset classes, multifamily, industrial, land, things of that nature. And my pitch was basically, hey, I'm sure you've got somebody in on your whiteboard or in your sales funnel or pipeline that matches one of two criteria, or both of these criteria, has owned their property for 20 plus years and is age 65 and older. Those are your prime candidates for this particular product. So I would pitch them. I'd say, like, identify these buyers or these owners in your marketplace. Let's go pitch them together. You can get the sale, and I'll get the purchase, and then we'll both give our client a better service at the end of the day. So I did a lot of those. I did north of 40 of those over a couple year span, probably 4 or 5 year timeline. And then I came across this article that talked about the mobile home park and RV park market. And what I learned was that it was a very fragmented market. So there was a majority private owners, different from my normal work world, which was a lot of private equity groups, funds, REITs, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize it's a highly fragmented market. It's a very unsophisticated market. There's not a lot of good information about how these properties are bought and sold. So I start reaching, and there was this wonderful graph that I found that shows the commercial property price index over a period of time, which is basically just a chart that shows how different asset classes have appreciated in a certain period of time, 10-year period. The one asset class that had appreciated more than everything else, more than retail, more than multifamily, more than industrial, was RV and mobile home parks. And to me, that signaled a lot of trapped equity.
Mm-hmm.
So I start looking for the brokers that kind of mastered that space, and I noticed two things. There wasn't a lot of them, well, three things. There wasn't a lot of them. The ones that were in the space, I didn't find particularly sharp. And in any regard, none of them were very collaborative. So I hired on a couple guys at the time and I said, hey, just go call owners that fit this criteria who own this type of property. Let's pitch them on this particular deal structure and see if they're interested. So we did that. And in a short amount of time, I think uh, after our first year, and for the 3 years since, we've had the largest market share of outdoor hospitality properties sold in the state of Texas, and now we're taking that model across state lines.
That's incredible. You saw like a golden nugget again, like you saw something out there that you were able to transform. So, okay, so that's amazing. Now let's before I really want to get into like the future plans, but before we get
Yeah.
there, let's chat about the the structure of your company, like what's your ownership structure? We'll start with that.
Well, I own 100% of the company, but the company wouldn't run without every single member on the team. The structure of the business has changed multiple times, and we're always looking for the better way to get to where we're trying to go. And just for some context, our company is called North Star, not just because we like the name, but our mission for our clients is to work with them, identify what their North Star is, and then work with them in parallel to go achieve that. Whether it takes 10 months or 10 years, we want to be their partner in achieving what they want to achieve. So we've taken that same approach into our businesses, which is, we might have a structure that works for our company today, and it might not work for our company in a year from now. And I know for sure the company structure that we have today is not the one that we had identified for ourselves a year ago. So we try to stay very flexible in the way that we run our day to day. But the North Star is always the same. My North Star is to have 25 agents across the country, all doing OH sales, and we want our brokerage name to be synonymous with the outdoor hospitality industry. So that's about 5 to 10 year goal. I know we're going to get into that, but that's how we're set up.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so you're 100% owner. Now, let's talk employees. Well, how many employees do you have right now?
So good. So we've got a mix between U.S. based and then overseas talent. So on the U.S. based, we've got independent contractors that are all agents. 7 of those right now who are the ones actually out there finding and then doing the deals. I've got two W-2 employees right now. One is our COO slash transaction coordinator. She makes sure that all of our transactions go off without a hitch, and then our organizational structure works. The things that I don't want to jack with. We've got another person who's actually just recently started with us, but she's in business development. So when I'm in the weeds doing deals, I don't have time to generate new business. So her sole role is to go out and work on building relationships and eventually generating new business. And then our overseas people, we've got two people that have been with us for quite some time, 3 years, over 3 years in one case. And they do everything for us from property owner research to marketing. They run all of our social channels. They manage and host our CRM, which is called Polaris. It's a very cool tool that we have access to. And then we have a revolving door of just basic researchers who will come in for periods of time, 3 to 6 month stints, and they'll help us either research new states or new property types or help us with specific products.
Amazing. Now, is that research team, are those W-9 or like in contractor base?
There's probably there's probably some sort of legal structure for that. I don't know what it is. I just pay them through Wise. They're based in
Okay.
the Philippines. They're great. I don't know what their accounting looks like, and for me, it's just a line item expense. So there's probably
Okay.
something I should look into a little bit closer there. Maybe I'll talk to my CPA.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so awesome. Now we have the structure of like your who runs keeps the ship going. Now, what does your day-to-day look like as the owner? Are you mostly working in the business, on the business, or is it a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both, and it's actually a lot of both, as I'm sure you can imagine. I mean, I'm responsible for everything at the end of the day.
Hmm.
It everything, whether it succeeds or fails, it's got my name on it. So I'm involved in my own deals. I've got my own clients that I work for round the clock. I help the other agents in their deals when they need someone with a little bit more seniority or experience. I've set up and structured the operations team so that they can mostly operate independently now, which they're fantastic and they can effectively do that. But yeah, I, I wish I could spend more time working on the business and less time working in the business, but it's probably 60/40 working in the business, 40 working on the business.
Okay, now you mentioned that's something you kind of want to tip that scale the other way, or there are things that you're doing currently to do that a little bit more?
Yes, I mean our org structure right now is set up to where we're building out our SOPs and we're working on getting things like that in place. We are trying. I'm trying to get as many things that don't require me solved by somebody else. So the first step of that was just research. When I started in brokerage, I did all my own research. I did all my own marketing flyers, all my own pitch decks. And that was the first time leverage that I officially realized was that, oh, I can pay somebody else $10 an hour to do this. It might not be better at first, but eventually it'll be better than what I can do on my own. Certainly when I'm being pulled in 50 different directions.
Hmm.
So my ultimate objective is to be responsible for 3 things. That's finding and winning deals, negotiating or finding and winning business, negotiating the deal, and then solving problems as they inevitably arise. Everything else should eventually fall in somebody else's job description. And that's what we're trying to get to right now.
Okay. And so what are some of the things that you feel like you're caught in most that you want to offload? Are there recurring things that are coming up?
Well, lately it's been hiring and firing. That's one we've run into a couple times here recently. Either people are not a good fit, or we find new people that are a good fit, and we have to, we realize we have to have a good onboarding process. Structuring things as simple as, how do we organize an operations meeting for our ops team? What should that look like and what should it accomplish? There's a decision that has to be made there. Um, what else are we fighting with right now? Oh, marketing strategies. I've got a great marketing guy who does all that stuff for us, but he does what I tell him to. And I'm not, I'm not a brilliant marketer. There's experts in that space, and I'm certainly not one of them. So I have to be able to give him some sort of guidance on where we're trying to go. And that comes with having some understanding of, how we're supposed to get there. So little things like that that can just kind of suck away at your time throughout the day are uh, is what takes me away from, what ultimately generates revenue and what I enjoy about the business.
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing that because those are real things that so many business owners struggle with. And so yeah, that's awesome to hear that you're, seeing those and kind of like working through them as you grow, which leads perfectly into the next question, which is kind of like, what is your trajectory? Where do you see yourself going in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
So 3 to 5 years, I would imagine we can easily double our headcount in 3 to 5 years. And we're not an equity-based business, we're a revenue generating business. So if we're not doing deals and generating revenue, we sink. It's not like property management where you've got money coming in every single month, regardless of how well you're doing that period of time. So we have to drive revenue. So things I'm focused on for the next couple of years is how do we drive revenue? And a big component of that was bringing in a researcher to make sure that our internal CRM Polaris is the best in the business, and it is. The second thing was to bring in Michelle, who's our business development rep, and her goal was to go out there and have 50 quality conversations every single week with owners of properties in our space. She warms people up. She understands what their needs and motivations are. And then if and when people are ready to transact, she can make a very warm handoff for us. So that's going to really explode. Last year, we're very data driven. So last year, between myself and one other guy on my team, we were the top outbound prospectors at the company. I was number two and Caleb was number one. And what we realized when we ran the math is that Caleb had averaged 8 connections with property owners per week, and I had averaged 7.5. And you have to really have a relationship with someone before they're going to trust you with a multi-million-dollar sale. And 7.5 or 8 conversations per week is just not a very effective ratio to get there. So Michelle's going to focus on getting 50 per week and hand off the best deals to us. And then at that point, it's just about growing in with new agents in new states, licensure in new states. We've already got Polaris, which is built out to handle every single property in the United States. It's just a matter of getting the information at this point. And once we have all of that, doing deals will be so easy. I mean, this might be interesting to you. Polaris right now, it tracks we scrape data from Google every single quarter, specifically RV parks, mobile home parks, campgrounds, marinas, and storage properties. So we can scrape that on a quarterly basis and track for new properties, change of ownerships, change of names, things like that. We can do that in any state. Simultaneously, every time we list and market a property, we get all these inbound buyer leads from people who've submitted offers or people who've inquired but not submitted offers. I mean, hundreds and hundreds on every single property that we take out to market. So now we've got this huge repository of buyers who are looking for certain things. Well, we've got the project, we've got the product, and now we've got the buyers. Now it's just a matter of putting in together a system that can actually match make those together, kind of like Tinder for commercial real estate. And and that'll give us the ability to go start transacting across the country. Also, in 3 to 5 years, we'll be very, very active in the trade shows and the conventions and all the big networking circles. Right now, we're just trying to keep the roof over our head, but that's where we're going in the next 3 to 5.
Oh, that's great. Especially like that'll open up a new marketing channel for you too with those networking opportunities and trade shows and things. And are you seeing yourself growing as the face of the company too? Are you pretty much the one out and about doing the conversations, or are you gonna like put somebody else in charge for that?
Um, if I ever graduate beyond doing my own deals, which maybe, maybe not, then yeah, my at that point in time, my role would be recruiting, managing the company, and going out there to get our name out there in front of new investors, new owners, new buyers.
Mhm.
But as long as my highest and best use of the company is generating revenue, I'm 100% focused on generating revenue.
Definitely. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for sharing everything so far. Now I want to take us through our fun part of the Q&A called our rapid fire questions. And they're super fun, painless, and geared to be just like answer very top of mind. So there's four of them.
All right, let's go.
All right, question number one is what is a key to success for you?
Um, Two things. It's identifying what your own North Star is, and then it's just working hard consistently to get there.
Those are great. I love those. It's like very, let's go. Number two is what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Oh gosh. I'd rather get everybody else's advice for my business, but um, I think if I had to give advice, it would just be learn how to sell. I mean, you can't run a business unless you have a product or a service that people will buy, and you can't have a product or service that people will buy unless they know about it, and that's where the selling comes in. So you got to be good at sales if you're going to run your own business.
Hmm. Yes, that's very true. Love that. Number three is what is, it could be a book, a podcast, an article, just something that has resonated with you recently.
Oh gosh. That's a good one. I would say, the podcast that I've gotten the most enjoyment out of lately is actually not really related to my industry. It's a tech podcast called the All In Pod. Very good podcast, very engaging and entertaining hosts. But no, there's not a lot of good content out there for the outdoor hospitality space. I'd say the best person in that space is probably Michelle Oliver, and she works with us. So I don't consume too much stuff like that.
Oh, well, at least you have her there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, one more question and take your time a little bit on this one. If I were to hand you a magic wand and you could rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Oh, easy. It would be making Polaris what Polaris is designed to be. Right now, our limitations on Polaris or Polaris is limited by the speed of people and research and data. And as we enter into the world of AI and automations and a lot more things like that that can help make that more prolific, um, it's going to make Polaris a giant database repository of all the buyers and all the owners in the marketplace, which is going to give us the unique ability to put deals together better than anybody else. Right now we've got Texas and a couple other states covered in terms of the data that we want. And there's 50 states. So it took us 3 years to get Texas and a couple other states. If we moved at that same pace, it would take years to get to, full market coverage. But with some of the new rollouts of AI and automations and tech, and even if we just hired to double down the speed time of all the research process, having that tool has already proven to be a huge benefit to our business, and then having it nationwide would make us the best brokerage in the space by far.
Incredible. Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing the magic wand question. So, before we get to our final question of the day, let's spread the word about your business. How can people connect with you and your business online?
Oh, sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, Landan Dory. I'm on LinkedIn and all these platforms as well as the company, North Star Brokerage and Advisory. It's a blue upward facing arrow, two tones of blue. So if you see it, there's a ton of North Star businesses out there, which is unfortunate for me. But we're on LinkedIn. I'm on X. I spend a good amount of time on X. We do have some YouTube stuff, but the rest of our stuff is probably on Facebook or Instagram. And anyone can connect with us through those channels. Also, our website, it's nstarba.com. That's where we've got all of our services that we provide, our team pages, our deal list, our current listings, all those good things.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Landon, for sharing that for our final question of the day. What is most inspiring to you today?
Most inspiring to me today?
Hmm.
Um, Good question. Ooh, I would say I would say it's as I've gotten older, I care a lot about my business and I care a lot about what I do professionally. And as I've gotten older, I've I've more and more come into understanding that excellence doesn't happen overnight. It's not luck. It's not, some people are just more talented in 99% of cases. The people that you know and have heard of that are superior at a thing have dedicated their life to that thing. Whether it's sports like Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, all those guys, business leaders, influencers, like whatever the case is, they got there through doing the hard things over and over again consistently for years before they achieved their success. And, I see a lot of people jumping in and out of industries or trying different things. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to like really achieve that type of greatness that we all talk about, we all celebrate, that comes from putting your head down and just grinding for a decade plus. So what's been inspiring to me is to look around at all the, whether it's small business owners or service business owners or whatever, just looking around me and seeing the people who are successful and realizing that that didn't happen overnight. Like that happened because of sleepless nights and because of pain and tears and blood and sweat and all the different things. Which is, I think, if more people had that look on life, one, they would achieve their goals more often, but two, they'd have more respect and appreciation for the people that have gone out there and into an industry, conquered it, tackled it, and carved out a little sliver for themselves.
That is fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. That inspired me, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers are absolutely inspired by that. So, Landon, thank you so much for sharing about your business and being on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.